welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. In today's episode, we're joined by Tom Bacon, whom we've had it on good authority has opinions. I'm Joanne, and this is Tori.
Hello, hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. Well, work husband, can I introduce you to my wife?
Hello, Tori.
Hello.
For those that are listening and cannot see us, today we are joined by Tom Bacon. Hi, Tom.
Yay.
Hi, guys.
He's here.
Round of applause, sound effects.
Tom has opinions, and he is here to share them. Do we want to talk about the dive bars now, or do we want to do that later?
This is I was saying before you hit record, like this is I know that you're pretending this is a guise if you did this to help me out because I'm not well, and so you thought it would help me have a different you chose to bring someone on that was going to talk to me about dive bars, and I'm not even in full form. So I can't even get that wound up about it because I'm too tired.
You will though.
I will. And it's not good for my health. I was ill and I got messages on my smartwatch that said my heart rate was very high as I was sleeping. And so I can't handle this right now, but let's go.
Ding! Round one. Let's talk about dive bars, my friends. What constitutes a dive bar?
I won't go for. I'll open up the floor.
So, well, this all started kind of like because I've been listening to podcasts for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
And it was your what's it called? It's the drink harder list.
Yeah.
And it was like, we were out in Sheffield in the beer feast, and it was like, oh, I wonder what we could do. And then it was like, right, when we went into was it Kellam Island Tavern? It's like, right, I need a whiskey drink, a vodka drink, a cider drink, a lager drink, and we did it, and it was great. And then it sort of became a point of like every time we were away for festivals, which we were doing 3 a month at that point. It was a little bit silly, but I'd try and take something off. And so I went to a dive bar, what I would consider a dive bar. But
Tori is rolling her eyes.
There is logic here. What you would consider a dive bar in the States is not going to be what we consider a dive bar in this country. And dive bars in this country are going to be like Irish bars in France. It's going to be a facsimile of what it really should be. So you need to distill what a dive bar is. It's cheap, good beer, little bit sticky, bars on the inside of the windows, that sort of thing. And then we're talking about a council estate sort of flat roof pub, which I love. I was brought up in working men's clubs. But is that the same vibe as a dive bar? No. What you want? Fruity shots, you want beer by the bottle, I'm going for it. And so we went there, and this has caused so much controversy for the past 9 months. It's been ridiculous. And then when me and Joe found ourselves in Nottingham, and there was a dive bar, which was as authentically American as,
as they get over it.
Absolutely, it's Philly cheese or whatever.
Yeah.
And we went in there and we had 2 bottles of Miller Lite, and it was lovely.
It was great. We had a lovely time. They had fun cocktails as well.
It wasn't the point. They had fun cocktails.
We did.
No, a dive bar should have some edge.
I really appreciate that you just presented that like you were doing it on a timer. Like you were just doing it like it was like a debate, and you were like, and therefore I've made my point and tab out.
I'm done. Right.
Done. With the rebuttal. I feel like I'm in Prime Minister's questions, and I don't even know that much about British government. So I'm like, I don't know. But I feel like the Honourable Sir over here has made his point. It's my turn to make my point. I just want to say for the record, Your Honour, that this all, in my opinion, my view of how this started was I got a message from Joe saying, I'm in York and we went to a dive bar. And I was like, oh, what dive bar in York did you go to? And she went, Valhalla. And I went, Valhalla? Not a dive bar. And she said, well, the owner says it's a dive bar. And I said, of course the owner would say it's a dive bar.
Called it a dive bar and then went, yeah, it probably is. So,
yeah, but I said,
calling it a dive bar.
Yeah,
and then
thank you. You did not I'm going to lose my voice because that's, you just proved my point. He felt it was not a dive bar. But also, of course he would want to say, yeah, it's a dive bar because you want to have a dive bar. Dive bars are cool. They're fun. They're they are a bit of like you said, edgy. They're the edgy, fun, no holds barred, anything goes. Of course you want to be called a dive bar. They're cool. They're chic.
If we're looking at this, it is
They're not
like
chic.
mine as well. Fair. We've got one about 300 metres away from where I'm sat, which is fantastic. It's where I had one of my first jobs collecting glasses, and it is rough and ready. It's a great little place, but it's not cool or chic. They
chic is not a word.
Warm, flat Fosters that gets cleaned once a
that's...
month, and cask beer, which always has some sort of a Belgian sort of essence to it.
Oh, nice.
No, and I would agree that US dive bars and UK dive bars are not the same, but I stand my ground at the one point that I made, which was Valhalla, not a dive bar. And you described what a dive bar was, and none of those things are ticked off by Valhalla. You were like, bars on windows. No.
In hindsight,
no.
We might have picked the wrong one, but it's the principle of the matter.
Yes.
Well, that's it. I think that became the hill that you were ready to die on. And then Joe goes, oh, Thomas sent this video that illustrates the dive bar. This is exactly why Valhalla. This guy's got videos explaining exactly why Valhalla's the dive bar. And I look at it and I went, Valhalla's none of these things. None of these things.
She was all right.
It was like all the other bars that we drank in that day were dive bars. Like Verruck and Gaskell, a beautiful local community-owned pub with good cheap beer and a great vibe, and it is that cool and that slight bit of edge. Or like probably Shakespeare's in Sheffield, that some of those pump clips are actually like load bearing now they've been on the wall so long.
It's factually correct.
Yeah.
And it's good, great quality, cheap beer that's got a little bit of edge. So we'd probably done the challenge several times without actually trying it because we were doing shots and pints in each one of those.
We were.
I've got worked up. I'm going to have
right. That's actually a good segue. What are we drinking? Tori, what are you drinking?
Because I am literally just getting on with my life here again after days of not being well. I've got Petite Farmhouse beer from Burning Sky. So it's a 3.4% because I was like, I want to have alcohol, but I don't really want to have alcohol. If I want, like, it's the first time that I felt like I feel so rubbish. Like I don't even feel like drinking. So I'm like, a 3.8% feels fair. So that's what I've got, and that's my excuse for why.
Very nice.
What about you guys?
Tom, what are you drinking?
Well, I've saved a very special beer because of you two. So I live in Sheffield, and of course there's one of the best breweries in the country, in my opinion, certainly for their portfolio and the quality of beers that they put out, is Abbeydale, because they produce everything from like a 3.2% blonde, which is incredible, up to like a 12% Bretted barley wine, which is also incredible. But because it's you guys, I have the pumpkin spiced ale, which is my first pumpkin spiced beer this year.
That's late.
But I do quite hate pumpkin spice, so
this will be fun.
It's going to be quite funny. So yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Have you had this one before?
No,
like this one, you haven't had it at all. Oh, that is a cool mug, right?
Have a time and time mug.
That is very nice, but
I was waiting for the opinions, and then I was like, "Oh no!"
It's the cinema. It's spicy. It's this sounds mental. That would taste lovely mulled.
Yes,
like,
we've said that.
Just that body. Yeah. But yeah, that's really good. I absolutely love Abbeydale and what they've been doing for almost 25 years. I think they're massively underrated. I was on a different podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking about like the three breweries in the north that really I think have set up everything else, which have been Red Willow, Abbeydale, and Roosters. Like, they might not be the most exciting of beers. I find them very exciting, but I love pints of warm brown liquid.
He does.
But the quality of every single beer that comes out of any of those 3 breweries, and the consistency. Anyone can make a decent beer, but it really takes someone of that level to be able to produce 930 barrel brews moonshine a week and still make it taste exactly the same, and still make it taste great. And I think it's become a little bit cooler to shit on like the blondes and like some of the traditional styles, but you go to the pub and you have 4 pints of moonshine and it's just superb. Or last night I was out in York and they had Rooster's Yankee on, which I hadn't seen in years, and it was just like, this is beer. First use of Cascade hops in the UK, and it's just simple and lovely and perfect. And this is not simple. This is very lovely.
Very complex.
The other end of the spectrum for Abbeydale.
Some would say cinnamon is the most complex it could be. I mean, it's not a basic flavour.
It's not. I've got a couple of beers for myself tonight, and I've put them in tribute to Tom. I've picked things that remind me of our times together over the last year. I have Ray from Tartarus, because we've spent a lot of time with Jack and Jordan this year, haven't we?
They just say yes to everything, and
they're so good.
That beer is one of my mum's favourite beers. She's not a beer drinker, and I think it was last year they brewed a load and they had some going out of date, short dated, and so they sent me a crate. And my mum's going, oh, how much? Strawberry and coconut. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? Oh, I might have just a little bit of that. And she had 3 cans of it and she was singing show tunes up and down the stairs. It's like 7%. And so this year they did exactly the same. And they're going, Mum, like, just be careful. You know it's strong. She's going, oh, yeah, I'll just have a half a can. And she did exactly the same every single time. I'm just glad she hasn't got into Imperial Stouts yet.
Tell the story about your dad and the dippers.
I feel like you caught him off guard. I did.
So I've temporarily moved back into my parents' house because it's 5 bedrooms and I'm currently in the process of buying a house. And I've got 3 different piles, let's call them crates of beer. I've got this pile, knock yourself out, drink it. It's stuff that I've either been given or that I bought or I picked up from here and there. Then I've got the absolutely drink this, be careful, it's quite strong, don't worry about it, but probably, treat it with respect. And I've got the, if you drink this, I will find you and take one of your fingers pile.
We've all got that pile.
Yeah, it's true.
It's what I always say is that I've never actually drank a bottle of Trey Fontaine, but I've bought like 14 of them because I am a Yorkshireman and I refuse to spend like 30 quid on a bottle and then just drink it. That's ridiculous. And so I was out at a festival or something like that, and my dad goes, oh, I fancy one of Tom's beers, I like. And my dad's an old school camera guy, like, Old Peculiar is his go-to. He likes his little hazies, and he's there going, oh, track. Tom's mentioned them, I've been to his taproom, I like them. He then proceeded to sit there and drink 8 dippers and tippers to himself on a Sunday night, to which my mum just found him on the sofa with Country File on, with a half pint of dipper still in his can next to him. And the next day he texts us going, oh, Tom, I don't know about this craft beer. I don't think it agrees with me. And I'm there going, Dad, you've had 3 bottles of wine. Like, that's why you feel rough.
I love the fact that in the audacity, like, he was like, I don't know about this craft beer. It's not the fact you just had 8 dippers. It's like
8 dippers and tippers, and I think he might have even had a quipper in there as well. God. Because, like, I go to track all the time and they quite happily normally go, have some unfills or whatever.
The fact you didn't notice. Oh my god!
Because they're so fruity and so juicy and big, like they don't have that alcohol kick that if you're an old school drinker, like if you like your old ales and your ESBs like my dad does, it's not gonna like kick. So you're just gonna go, this is lovely. And if he brought his little chiller in as well, so he didn't need to get up.
I respect that. That's a baller move, and that's. Yeah. I've been trying to get I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace for like another small free mini fridge or something, because I'm like, oh, we got like our crafting room, which is where I do all my Lego and I watch my anime and I sort of like chill there. And I'm like, oh, but if I want a few drinks, I don't really want to go downstairs to get them. So you know what? I just need to take a page out of your dad's book.
This is also the fella, so we've got a bit of a crappy, it's a Stonegate pub. It's nice enough food, but it is what it is in the village. And they've got Old Peculiar on. This is a while ago, years ago. I was in there with his camera buddies, 4 guys he's drank with on every Friday for the past 10 years. And they were just sinking Old Peculiar, not just drinking it, like straight arm drinking, straight down the hatch sort of thing. Wow. And I'm sat there, and my dad turns to us and goes, Tom, come on, drink up. It's your round. And I'm there going, and I had 3 full pints in front of me. And I had to call my mum to come and get us because the other boys were being mean to me.
Oh.
That is genuinely, that is brilliant. Like the fact that he's had that many dippers, tippers, quippers, whatever, and then he was going, oh, it just doesn't agree with my stomach. Just so casually. I love that so though. Much.
That's all right.
Yeah, but that like just all good.
Now, we've probably done this backwards, but Tom, there might be people that don't know who you are. I don't know if there are. I mean, I don't think that's true. I think everyone knows you by now. But if there are people who don't know who you are, who are you? What are you doing here?
Who are you? Why are you here?
Joe was interviewing someone at work and they went, oh yeah, I'm good mates with Tom Bacon, and Joe just went, yeah, everyone is. That just means you went to a beer festival once.
I was like, yeah, that's not a name drop, soz.
So I'm Tom. I'm currently with Bathhouse with Joe. I've been with 2 years. I look after small and medium-sized breweries. Before this, I was one of the guys behind Wander Beyond for about 2.5 years. And then before that, I was with Brew York for just under 3 years when we just started out. And then before that, which always makes people laugh, I was with Peroni because I know this goes out as a video. This is the face of Peroni right here. Like, this is...
I wasn't going to say that.
Ginger Yorkshireman. That is.
No, I was laughing because it was so. No, I was laughing because I didn't know what you were gonna say, and then you went Peroni, and then I went like just from Wander Beyond, which I didn't know that, and how you went from like Wander Beyond to like then Peroni. I was just like that. I just did not expect that to be the next.
I started out at a brewery called Meantime. Which are now, I don't think, any longer with us, or it's kind of been gobbled up into a bigger side, I think. Yeah. And then, so I joined just before it was taken over by SAB Miller, which was quite good, actually. The SAB Miller kind of came in and went, you guys are making a load of money. Here is a lot of money. Go make us more money. And then it was bought out by Asahi, and it kind of merged all the companies together. So I was out there, like, making pale ales and drinking pretty solid craft beer for the time, actually. So this is 2015, 2016. And then it's like, and now, Tom, you're going to work on Italian lager. And it's like, oh, right. That was lucky. It was just about the time that Wayne and Lee were starting to look for guys to join Brew York. And so the way I met them is a pub I mentioned earlier in York called the Ruck and Gaskell, which is one of my favourite pubs in the entire country. And I used to be the barman there and then bar manager there. And Wayne was one of the regulars. And I remember him coming in and going like, oh, Tom, I'll take in redundancy. I'm going to start a brewery. And I turned to him and went, oh, yeah, mate, let's see how long that lasts. And that was 10 years ago now, almost. And then, yeah, a year and a half later, I was working for him. So... but yeah, and then went on to various other things and do various things across the country. But yeah, I get about. Lots of people don't understand how I sleep, and the answer is I don't.
Tom just walks into beer festivals and walks through the door.
That's what Tom Meyer always complains about that. He says he doesn't even bother text me saying if I need a ticket. He just knows I'll show up, and it's like,
just show up.
I feel like such a dick.
There are times where I've been like, you just got to walk in with Tom energy.
Well, just with confidence.
Just walk in with Tom energy. And if they say anything, just like, do you know who I am? I'm Tom Bacon.
I've only said that once.
You have said that.
And I was with Jack Hobday of Unspoken Hobday, and I said it out loud because the security was being a little bit weird, but I also kind of meant, do you not know who we are? We are stood next to his stand. Please let us into the festival.
It sounds much better though when you don't give the context of like that's the context of it. If you were just like, do you know who I am?
And the answer is normally, yes, sir, that's why we're asking.
That's why we're not letting you in.
But yeah, so it's been a fun journey. So I started off kind of keg washing, and then I started doing tours and events, and then sales, and then Wander. We were only a 4-man team, so that was literally everything, and that was really, really fantastic there, and mainly because I love 14% Imperial Stouts, and it's great to see Dan still carrying on doing what he loves and producing some 15-16% Imperial silly juice now. But yeah, it's been a long, winding road.
And then we saw some hops.
What would you say for you is the beer that got you into beer?
Well, I mean, I've already mentioned both of them. I mean, the cliched one that everyone always says is Sierra Nevada Pale, isn't it? And you go, oh yeah, cool, mate, yeah, same. But like the first beer I can remember having was again in the Rook and Gaskell, and it was probably Rooster's Yankee. And I'd been brought up with kind of on like Stone's bitter, which I don't think you really have anywhere else in the country because it's utterly awful. It's a lager ale hybrid that takes the worst parts of both of those things to make something almost undrinkable. The cask is actually fantastic. It's brewed by True North now under license, but the keg is truly awful. So I was brought up on that, and like crappy straw blondes that were all called like Bomb Blonde Shell and things like that. You remember those?
Yeah.
And so I went to York for uni, and I was in Rook and Gaskell, and it's like, oh, I'll fancy that Roosters. I've heard American. Ooh, fancy that. And I had a pint of it. It was like, this actually has like flavour and taste, and it was kind of like, and then there was another brewery called Smutty Nose that somehow sent a load of kegs over to the UK, and we were drinking that and going, this is amazing. And then this was just as like, was it just before Northern Monk had started coming out, and so we got like the first batches of Heathen in, and it was like a New World IPA. And thinking, this is incredible. And then I started to work in the industry and drink more and more. Like I always give Stu from North Riding Brewery a big shout out for helping out all the little guys in the York scene. And we're all coming out. And if you look at like that scene, there was me, Matt Breslin, who went on to be head brewer at One Beyond, but before that he was Hop Studio. Jack Walker, who's currently head brewer of Azvex, and before that he was at Atom, Love Lane, Twisted Wheel. Cam Brown, who's now head brewer of Turning Point. And it's mad that we were all pretty much at York Uni or in the surrounding areas at the same time, which I always think. And none of us knew each other at the time either. Literally, no, we were all drinking in the same pubs and at the same parties.
Never came across each other.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that people didn't want to introduce us to each other because bad things have happened. Me and Cam are actually pretty thankful that we weren't introduced to each other at the time. But yeah, I think those sorts of beers, and then having like the new wave of the UK breweries, it's something I feel quite passionate about in cask beer and this side of things. Pete Brown said a few months ago how he found it disgusting that in the House of Commons, when they're showing off to foreign dignitaries, they have English sparkling wine and Scotch whisky. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Scotch whisky, but we have one of the proudest brewing traditions in the world. We have the finest malt in the world, and we have some hops here that are
Ernest is
usable. Ernest is great, but this is something we should be showing off. People have come to this country for the past 150 years. I'm not very patriotic or something, but I feel that in that sort of British self-loathing and self-hatred, we've really kind of not want to show off how good it was in. it was a couple of years ago at Leeds International, we had the main beer box, which was loads of main breweries sent over things. And I got drinking with one of the head brewers, can't remember the brewery. And he's there going, mate, you need to come try this. I really want your opinion. It's like, oh, cool. And he's going, oh, mate, try this. It's called an ESB. And I'm there going, oh. Lovely. And I asked him, what do you think? And it's like, oh, it was a really nice ESB.
Yeah.
I really like ESBs. I would have much preferred his 9% NEPA that he had on next to it at the time. And it's something that I really, we need to get better at, is to look and celebrate the scene that we've had here for 150, 200 years. As much as the Germans don't like to admit it, quite a lot of the lager brewing techniques were from British breweries and certainly from British maltsters. And it's something that I feel quite passionate about, especially cask beer. And cask beer should be served with a sparkler. And that's it. There's no argument. It's just better.
If it helps, I have no opinions on that.
Yeah, she doesn't really drink
I
beer.
go keg.
Yeah.
To be fair,
but where you are in the country, the cask isn't. It's not a heavy cask area.
There are. I mean, there is a lot there that you can have. It's just like I tend to, depends on what it is on cask, is when I go for cask versus keg. Normally if it's something I'm interested in and it's on both, I'll have both because I want to try it on both. But like a lot of times, if I only have time for like one drink or like two drinks, let's say, I won't be like, oh, I'll have one in one. I'll go, let me just go keg, because I know that no matter what, that's going to be more like what I'm wanting, as opposed to, because I find that for me, cask, normally the flatness of it, I don't enjoy it as much as I do with the keg.
I think the thing with cask is because it is such a hard product, and it's such a cliched thing of saying it's such a hard product to look after.
But it is.
But it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you went to like the finest pub in the UK, which of course is the City Arms in Manchester,
I was going to say we were going to have to bring it up.
They stillage all their cask for 10 days, like beforehand, so it's naturally conditioned. They've started to do it less and less because quite a lot of the modern styles of beers, they've already been conditioned, so it does depend on the brewery and things. But Josh has an entire chart of like how long he's stillaged the beers for and things like that. And it's not going to be the same as if you're in a little micropub and they're just shuffling the cask under the bar and put it straight on. It can't be the same. And also, the sparkler, no sparkler debate is insane because it just makes the beer completely different. Harvey's with a sparkler is like milkshake mild. It's so thick. It's incredible, but that's because it's made to be brewed made to be done without a sparkler, and also their yeast has a little bit of Brett in it, so it aggressively sparkles and aggressively conditions. And if you took like moonshine or something and you serve that without a sparkle, it just looks sad. It just looks sad. And you don't want a beer to look sad, do you, Tori?
No, I don't at all. A sad beer is not appetizing beer, is it? But I think that's it. It's for me, a lot of times, the experience that I've had when I've got a cask versus when I am doing side-by-sides, I've tended to favour for the most part, I would say, I've always tended to favour the keg. So therefore, when I actually am in that situation, I have to make a decision. I tend to go, if I get cask, it feels more of a gamble to me than if I go with the keg beer. But that's not to say that I haven't gone in and been like, okay, let's have this on cask, and been like, that is amazing. Like there was one that was one of it was I think it was an Irish stout that Indie Rabble did as one of their, it was Stardust. It was their collab with Stardust, and they did that on cask and keg, and I preferred that on cask because it was just like, it was such this beautiful, like creamy, full body, just beautiful. I think it was a stout of a porter. I can't remember. It's just
dark beers on cask, mate.
One of the best and like really underrated breweries, Neptune, up in Liverpool. They're a Beersphere 5% oatmeal stout. They do it on keg, and it's like, oh, that's nice, that's fine. And they do it on cask, and it's like, yes.
If I see a Neptune beer in the City Arms, I'm like, give me that, Caitlin. Caitlin serves a good pint.
Thanks
Hi,
so much for the
Caitlin.
vibes.
I know she's going to be watching because
Yeah,
you're
she
on.
does listen.
I do have more questions, but I feel like we should pepper out like any questions we were going to do. We should pepper in with opinions because I was promised opinions. So I have my jar. Should I?
Yes.
Of opinions.
Should I get it? Well,
I have
Of
been
questions.
told several things that I'm not allowed to talk about by Joe already.
And if you do anything that I don't like, I'll just cut it out. So
it's
There
fine.
you go, so-
If he's walking around telling you, people that are listening to this, that like, oh, I had this really, really great conversation, and then you don't hear it, it's probably because Joe cut it out.
I decided it wasn't a great
the podcast
conversation.
stops now, and that's it. And it just goes blank, and everyone just hears little outro music. And it's done.
And it's like, well, that was a really great time, wasn't it? Right. I've got a question. Let's see what the question is. This could be anything, because I'm realising as well, this could be from our Halloween.
Oh, it literally could be anything. You chucked it all in the jar.
Oh, okay, here we go. I've started with a this or that. Filtered or unfiltered?
Well,
Ooh.
it depends, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's no
It depends
context,
on-
that's part of it. Just filtered or unfiltered.
If we're talking about the filtered or unfiltered, I realise I've talked about ESBs several times already, and I've got an ESB here, so I'm opening that
Wait.
up. I think it's different horses for courses. If you want a really nice light lager, so there's a brewery that I work with that will remain unnamed, but they turn their lager around in 4 days. And the worst part about this lager is it's 95% of an incredible lager. They're using all the modern brewing techniques they possibly can do. And all they're trying to do is make something cold and fizzy that the guys will like in their pubs. And if you're filtering it, and do you know what? A filtered lager, when it's nice and crisp and cold, and it just goes straight down, and you're going, oof. But then Budvar Unfiltered does exist and is one of the finest things. Like, it's God's way of apologising for giving us sentience, Budvar Unfiltered.
I would agree. I think if you've got a filtered lager, because you want that cleanness and that crispness, but yeah, other things work really well unfiltered because you want a little bit of that rusticness about it.
I'd love to see someone do like a filtered Nipah. Or we go back to the days when we were first starting making Nipahs, and all we could make was like absolute crystal clear IPAs, and none of us could make Nipah to save our lives.
I have got to say,
I might not have, but I know other people who were certainly adding like flour into the beer and things like that to try and give it some haze.
I was judging a beer competition the other week, and it would note whether it was supposed to be hazy or not, and the amount of times we were like, that's not hazy. If you're going to tell us it's hazy, it should be hazy. Otherwise, just don't say anything.
But then it goes back to, I feel the Untappd Rant is coming soon.
Opinions.
Okay.
It doesn't taste hazy. Like, have you not seen that comment? It doesn't taste hazy.
No.
What does hazy taste like?
And it's just like,
No.
what sort of glue are you huffing that you think hazy, which is a visual thing, is a taste?
Yeah.
And the worst ones. So one of my favourite things that keeps me amused is shit Untappd reviews, but like not shit, not like 0.25s or anything like that. Just really mental ones. So one of my favourite ones is for Siren Maiden Project, which was try to make a shandy out of it, made it even worse. Which is like, you have tracked down one of the best barley wines I've probably put out there in Europe, and which is going to be expensive and quite hard to get hold of. You've made a shandy out of it.
Tori is scandalised people that are not watching the video.
I am like, where did that idea come from? I've literally never heard of anyone be like, I've got a bar. Look, I'm not shaming anyone. I'm creativity. Let your creative flag fly. Let your freak flag fly. I don't, that's on you. That's great. But like, I've never heard of anyone being like, you know what we should do with this barley wine? Shandy it. It's not, we don't know, would it shandy? I mean,
shout out to Does It Shandy, Laura and Michael, who are doing some great stuff. And they did, what's the Putty. They did Putty
Oh,
Titty
yeah.
last year on Does It Shandy. And Laura was saying they were getting, like, abuse
I bet they were.
for, like, doing it. And it's like, it's just beer, mate. It's just fucking beer.
People get upset about putty. I've had the brunt of that as well.
One of the other ones, well, the best Untappd review I received for one of the beers that I had a hand in was for our lager at Wander Beyond, which was called Lager, Lager, Lager. It was a lager. Beautiful, like, New Zealand hopped English style. And the review was best example of an English style lager I've ever had. Don't understand how they could improve it. 3.25.
I think though that's the point where it becomes annoying though, isn't it? Because it's like, if you've taken the time to say don't know how they can improve it, but you've gone like everyone has a different type of rating system for what they use, but like
the issue with Untappd and a little bit of a look behind the curtain is that quite a lot of exporters use it to judge the beer.
Yeah.
And so quite a lot of exporters won't buy a beer if it's below 3.9, if it's below 4. So I say to a lot of people, and it's like, I just use it to keep track of things I like or don't like. It's like, those stars for a small brewery, every single one you mark down is going to actually affect them financially. And I don't think people realise, and I certainly don't think this is the way the system should work or like the industry as a whole, but sadly this is the way it is working right now. And so when you put like, oh no, 0.25, I don't like sours, that's a financial hit to the brewery you've just given them. And don't get us wrong, some beers are poorly made and should never have been released for public consumption. But if there's nothing wrong with a beer, and if it's a perfectly made lager or pale, why aren't you giving it a great score? Oh, I don't really want... It's only 3.7, it can't be above 4. It's like, what? You've had 12 pints of it, mate.
Yeah.
It's great. You love it. Why aren't we judging it against its competitors? If we're judging a 2.5% table lager against a 15% imperial barrel aged stout and going, oh well, that's better because it's stronger, I think we've lost quite a lot of ourselves. And this is where I feel, and I've said this to jokes, like, I really want people to enjoy beer and respect beer and get... There's fucking idiots out there, and I feel slightly gatekeepy every so often when it's like, can you just try and educate yourself before you come and say things to me like that?
But that's the thing. That's the thing. You're not stopping people. You're not asking people to stop. You're not stopping people from doing it. You're encouraging them to educate themselves, which is totally important within the craft beer industry, because there's so many different types. Not everything is going to be for everyone. And also sometimes you'll know it's not for you if you read a little bit about it first. Like, it's not meant to be this particular style is not meant to be this way. So don't say, oh, I don't like it because it's not this way, when it shouldn't be that way in the first place. And that just requires a little bit of reading, a little bit of education.
But then
I mean, it's also one of those that when we're looking at like kind of the quality of the brewing technique and things like that. I was out last night in York with a few of my mates for our Christmas curry. Shout out to York Tandoori. It was the worst service I've ever had, the best curry I've ever had. So we will be attending again. And I was drinking a pint of Bitburger, and like quite a lot of my mates are like casually into craft beer. Most of them, these are my uni mates, but not really into the industry like I am. And they're going, why are you drinking lager, mate? And I'm there going, because it's delicious and it's German and it's insanely hard to make. It went, well, everyone makes a lager. It's like, no. The best one of that is I was once out with a load of guys from a Manchester brewing scene, about 5 or 6 of us. So it was like Kieran from Blackjack, Dan from Bunderbus, and what's his name? His name's gone from 1 Minute Beer Reviews.
Oh, Dan.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan.
1 Minute Beer Reviews walks in and he's going, oh, I'm drinking this new Nipa. It's fresh on. Absolutely fantastic. What are you guys drinking? And all like 8 brewers just turned to Dan and went, lager, just in unison.
I think the thing is, though, is we talked about this before, Joe. Like, even if somebody, the education piece outside of it, like I do think people should educate themselves before they try to do rating, because like if you're saying there's physically nothing you could do that would make this better, why isn't it a 5? I feel like people are going, oh, the British 5 is a 4, but like something like that. They're like, oh, a 4 is a Brit, because nothing's ever a 5.
The Dutch 3 is a British 6. The Dutch are. With Wanda, we did a festival in the Netherlands twice, and we dropped like 0.5 fully on Untappd. We are never going back to the Netherlands again.
To be fair, it's when you look at restaurant ratings in Japan and stuff as well, like their restaurant ratings are like, you don't get 5-star ratings, like at all. That you just have to hope that like anything that's like a 3, that's a 5. Take that as a 5. But I think it's something that, like, if you know, you don't even have to be that educated to know, you know, sour isn't for me. But I still think, you know, expose yourself to it. If you want to push yourself and you want to try it, like, that's awesome. Like, you should continue to try stuff. Maybe you don't like this particular sour, but your palate might have changed. Your taste buds might have just moved along in general. This might be a different type of flavor. There might be not the sour itself, but a particular thing about that sour that you've had. And I get that, and that's great. And I think you should continue to try those things. What you shouldn't then do, though, is amend that rating so that you're like, yeah, I don't like sours, so that is a low rating. Not because it wasn't good. Just don't rate it.
I've had this discussion with Joe many times over the years of certain styles that I just don't get on. I'm not a big Saison fan. I think they taste like actual shit. And Tom, you just haven't tried the right Saison. It's like, no, I've gone out my way. I've really pushed myself. Look what I've done to myself. This is just mainly Saisons. But you can sit there and go, that is a very well made beer. That is absolutely true to type. Do I like the type? No. So there's nothing wrong with it. And that's, I think, the differentiation that we need to try and instill in people, is that there's a difference between, is it a good beer or do I like it?
100%.
Yeah, I see it on the forums and stuff like that when somebody doesn't necessarily want to educate themselves. They don't want to know. They just want to say, it is this because it tastes like this to me, and it doesn't matter if it's identical to what it should taste like. If you're telling me it says what it says on the tin, but it's all right because I've had this same style that's better and whatever, and you're like, that is the style, and they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, whatever. And like moving on. It's like you don't understand how you're influencing other people around you in this space to not even give something a try. I mean, more for them if it's not the person that's saying those comments, it's the people that are allowing that to stop them from trying something, especially if it is effectively what it should sound like. But it is a little bit like people need to be a little bit more mindful how they're impacting other people around them to maybe influence them and not thinking like, now there's going to be a whole bunch of people that might go, that brewery, I don't want to try anything from them because this person has tried 3 beers, said they were all rubbish, even though when you actually read what's in writing there, it's saying, yeah, it was pretty good for the style. That person just didn't understand the style.
It is the realisation of quite a lot of people who aren't on my side, our side of the industry. It's like, your rating physically affects and financially affects that brewery. Like, full stop. And you can go, oh, no, it's just for me. No.
It's a public forum.
If you give it 0.25, and I'm not saying you shouldn't give certain beers 0.25, don't get us wrong. I've had some pretty awful beers. I've had a lot of awful beers, yeah, God. Right. Segue here.
That just your face as you said it, you went, I have. Shit, I have.
I was in a pub in Houston Tap, and I won't say which brewery it is, and if I do, and it's been edited out, listeners, you know that it's been edited out. But the beer was called Raspberry Flashback, and I went to the bar, and it's like, oh, raspberry sour. I quite like raspberry sours. Beautiful. Raspberry wheat sour, I think it was. And I got 2 pints, and I smelled it and went, that smells like sick. But I was just new, and I'm there going, well, Parmesan. That smells like sick, and I quite like Parmesan. And I had a big glug of it, and it didn't just taste like sick, it tastes like hangover sick, you know, when there's just nothing left, and it's just the bile and the stomach lining. And I take it back to the bar and I go, I'm really sorry, mate, I think there's something off with the beer. And the poor barman, who had obviously said this many times, looked me in the eye and went, I'm really sorry, mate, we had the brewer in last night, and he told me that's how it's meant to taste. And it was just I know it's not meant to taste like that. You know I'm not meant to taste like that, but mate, I can't do anything.
I feel like I would have taken, like, as
I
the
would have
bar
taken it
people,
back.
I'd have taken it off. Like,
I took it back, and he replaced it for me, and he didn't need to. God bless him. But yeah, that was. Or there was one. I can't remember what the beer was called. It was done by York Brewery. They've gone now, so I can say what I want about
You're
them.
like, I can say the name.
And they had a pub called The Last Drop. It's run by a mate of mine, Chris. It's a great little pub. It's now under new management. Went in last night, really quite nice. Recommend if anyone's in York. But they had a bit. I can't remember what it was called, but it tasted like fag ash water of when you're at like a party and you pick up the wrong can, and it's where people have been putting the rollies out in, and it was like, what the hell is that? And Chris is going, mate, I've done 3 firkins of it this week, and it's like, what do you mean? He went, it's the worst beer I've ever had, but everyone keeps coming in asking for a taste of it and going, can I get 4 pints of that for my mates? And like he was saying, he was essentially selling this beer as a meme at this point.
I respect that. That's great. I mean, I've definitely gone in places. Like, there's one place, again, I won't name the place I've gone, and I can say that it's in Bristol because there's so many places in Bristol that no one's ever going to be able to figure out. But I did go to some place in Bristol, and I was sat with some people that are into craft beer and some people that are just like, oh, I like beer, but it's fine. And I got a half. I like to do halves when I go places because I feel like I can drink more if I just do half. So I had gotten a half and everyone else had gotten a pint, and I like kind of looked at it, and I can't remember what the style was, but I remember looking at it and going, that doesn't quite look like what it's supposed to look like for this style. I wonder if I just got the wrong like beer. And then I sort of smelled it and I was like, something smells a bit off on that. And then I tasted it and I went, this is just not what this should not taste like this. But it was at that point that I was just like, I can't be bothered to go bring it back. I should have gone back, but then I felt like, oh, what if it's just me and really I seem to be the only one that's having a problem with this particular drink. Everyone else seems to be like okay with it, and I was like, it just doesn't taste right. And then somebody else got it that was at my table and was like, does that taste right to you? I was like, no, it didn't. And I was like, I didn't even finish mine because I just couldn't. But then I felt too self-conscious to bring it back because I didn't want to put pressure on that person as well to be like, I know I should have, but in my brain I was like, well, I feel now self-conscious that if I'm the only person that's complained about it, they might just kind of dismiss that as like, well, everyone else says it's fine sort of thing. Because this was at a brewery. This wasn't like I'm at a pub and that it's not their beer, if that makes sense. Like, it was very much their beer. So I was like, I can't say anything.
When I was running taprooms and things like that, I would have much preferred for people to come back and go, look, I don't think this is right here. And then you go, and always, it's when they don't try it, that's what winds me up. Either they just turn it right around and go, oh, yeah, it's off, and it's like, then why did you serve me it?
Yeah.
Or if they just go, oh, do you want another one? And don't take it off.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, try it. See, I might be wrong here.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'll quite happily put my hands up here. I mean, I was in Rutland Arms in Sheffield a couple of days ago, and a pint of LHG, and it came out, it was like gravy. And I'm there going, oh, it's a Westie, so could just be a little bit hazy. And I had a sup of it, and it was like, I went to the guy behind the bar going, I think it's off, and he went, ooh, and he just pulled it. And it's like, yeah, mate, what can I do? And he was just like, yes, cool, done. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be done.
I like the idea that he went, ooh, and then just like ran to it. It was like, oh
no. But I think people should never be afraid to take beer back to the bars. It's what the bar does with it, I think, can be a little bit intimidating, and also it can be flat out rude.
Yeah.
But stand your ground and go somewhere else. If they don't treat you right, go somewhere else. And if you're in Bristol, you've got plenty of
There's so much option, yeah. The thing is it's just like, it was quite intimidating because I was a little bit like, oh, I didn't really want to go up, and that because it was I'm trying to be like vague. It's not a massive place or anything like that. And I've had ones before there that I went, like a friend had one at the same place before that definitely had like hot matter in it and was like, what is
so
this?
That's one of 2 breweries in Bristol then.
I wondered. You have to tell me after if you know. But I went. Oh, and he went. Oh, there's something in this, and I went. I'd go back to the bar and I would tell them about that because that's not right. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I felt like it tasted off, and I was like, I can literally see it's not clearing up, and I can see that there's like crud in it, sort of thing. And I was like, go back up. And then he ended up getting like a different pint. They sorted him out with something different, and it was like they was totally cool about it. But I just felt that self-conscious, like where I was like, well, there wasn't anything overtly wrong with it. It just tasted really off from what I was expecting. But then I was like, well, I don't know if it's just because it's not. I'm used to drinking such a like really, really good high quality beer that I was like, maybe I'm just expecting it to just be different than what it was. I don't know if that sounds really like I'm trying not to sound horrible about it, but I was like, oh, maybe that is just what it's supposed to be.
In perspective, like I was in a brewery Taproom that I deal with that is probably in the top 10 breweries in the UK. If you know where I live and where I drink, you can probably work it out there. And I ordered one of the beers and I had it and went, that's not right. That's really not right. That's a brewing fault. That's not the keg off. That's a brewing fault. What do I do? And I kind of sat there and kind of ran it over my head. It's like, I'll message the head brewer and kind of go, I've tried really hard to not say his name like 6 times. It's like, look, mate, I've just had this beer. It's tasting very bad. I'm pretty sure it's lysis. The yeast has become stressed. When you come in the morning, do you mind just giving it a try, mate, just so you're aware? And he came in, tried it, and he went, cheers for telling me that, mate. It was an off keg. It was the last one that came off the tanks. We thought we could get away with putting it in the tap room, but we probably shouldn't. But cheers for letting us know. And if you don't tell these people, there's going to be other people sat there going, this beer is horrible.
Yeah.
No, that is good. That's good. That's good advice. I feel like you should come on every so often and do like write-in segments where we ask you for your advice. Like, dear Tom, dear Mr. Bacon,
what do you think of this? And it's like, right, and another thing.
Tom's opinions, like the big opinion section.
Tom has them.
Should I do another jar? Should I do another jar one?
While you're picking one out of the jar, I've started my second beer, and this one is from Sobremesa. And we found this brewery just this year, didn't we? We saw them first at Indie Beer Feast, yeah. And then we came across them at Little Earth Project, and we were like, oh.
And they remembered us.
Yeah, they remembered us.
Which was really lovely.
And then when I was on holiday in Wales, I went and visited them and went to their tap room and picked up some cans.
So it's run by 2 Spanish guys. But they're in the middle of like rural Wales. Yeah. So when me and Joe said to them, it's like, oh, where are you guys from? And they went, Wales. We thought they were taking the piss out.
And we didn't. Yeah, like both of our faces just went like, we're not gonna show anything. We were just like, oh, and we just didn't do anything. And the guy went, yeah, no, we're from Spain, but we're in Wales now. We were like, oh, and he was like, I have to explain the accent. Like, we were just like, oh, and he's like, I saw the face, it's okay. And we were like, oh, we weren't quick enough.
You did give me that heads up as well, because then when I went, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, it makes sense now. Like, because I was trying to like place as well. Then I was like, oh no, you did say Spain, because I did go, because I ended up going camping down the road from it, and when you say literally middle of sort of like
rural Wales.
Wales. Like, I was having panic attacks going down the drive to get into it because it's like a one track, and I was
working farm,
literally like, like we came down one way as the car was coming up, and we were like, and I was like saying to my husband, like, reverse. it was a panic, but it was a really peaceful, lovely, beautiful spot. And then they've got the camping there, which is like, the beer's great, the people that work there are great, like the view into sort of just a bit of nature is really, really lovely. They're dog friendly.
Taproom that I need to give a shout out to, because they don't seem to get enough, which is Zapato's up in Marsden. So Marsden's about halfway between Manchester and Huddersfield, and it's in the Calder Valley, and it's just, you get off the train, it's about a half-mile walk along the canal, and it's just the beautiful old oaks. coming over a river, and it's all set up like a Belgian beer cafe. And the Zapato beers are pretty damn solid.
Mm-hmm.
But they've got like 5-year back catalogue of Orval there as well. And also another place where I bought a bottle of Tres Fontaine from and still haven't drank it. But they've got this beautiful field and this little babbling brook at the end. And Matt Gorecki, who owns it, and Alice, his wife, are just phenomenal people. And I see all these kind of lists of like the best tap rooms in the country, and it's like, this is the most idyllic place you can go, and no one seems to know about it because it's in Huddersfield, sort of
and
thing.
not on an industrial estate.
No, it's actually got greenery there. There's nothing wrong with a nice industrial estate.
There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an industrial estate. We enjoy an industrial estate.
You know what you're getting with those.
Tori and I have been to many. Tom, you and I have been to many. We've sat on a lot of big bench.
But yeah, I feel like it would be interesting to have like a list from your perspective of like these little tap rooms that you think maybe don't get the coverage that they could or should be getting just because they're not in these prime city centre industrial estates.
So I was chatting to Matt Curtis drinks the same pub as I do, so occasionally I shout abuse at him across the bar.
Did you hear that clang? There's a clang every time Tom drops a name.
Oh, sorry. But he's just did his top 10 drinking cities in the country, and it's all very safe and things, but there's so many, like Chester is insane. Like, for beer selection, you've got Spookton there now, but the bars, like the Cellar, that beer place, Beer Heroes, Cavern of the Curious Gnome, Paisan, like incredible bars that have no right to be in a little town, or Preston, that you've got like 12 incredible craft beer bars, as well as Chain House and Rivington officially being there as well, which I always find mad because they're like 20 odd miles away.
They are out in the middle of nowhere.
It's another gorgeous place, but an absolute dick to get to.
You can camp there though, can't you? I think.
Yeah. So I went to do farm trip this year, and it just ended up being. It was incredible, but I left on Saturday morning because 2 days of camping was enough for me. And on Saturday afternoon, it absolutely hammered it down.
Oof.
So I made the correct decision. But yeah, you've got these small towns. I think Sheffield is the best pub town in the country for the quality of bars and things like that. I think Manchester for the breweries, you cannot get close to it. But then, yeah, York, amazing bars, incredible bars and pubs, and it's kind of a little bit overshadowed by Leeds, which I don't think's actually that good. But
controversial.
I feel like that is controversial. Opinions.
Opinions.
But then, like Nottingham, Joe, me and you had such a great time.
We had such a good time. I told you, I was like, Nottingham is so good.
Nottingham is so good. We both kind of, because I can remember going to Nottingham when I was a kid thinking, this is a bit rough and it's okay. And we went back round now and it's like, fuck me. Like, we had an amazing couple of days in Nottingham.
There's really good spots like food and drink in Nottingham.
Oh, absolutely. But if there's breweries that I keep saying, Big Trip are going to rule the world one day. They're such lovely guys and doing some incredible beers. Blunt Rock are my personal pick for the Brewery of the Year. Really small. Going to be incredible next year. I've got to give a shout out to Ticking Clock, who have opened up about half a mile away from where I'm sat. Their first commercial brewery, they've been home brews for years. It's got such big potential, and their tap room is looking amazing as well. And who else is decent? Oh, and Closet, I've got to.
We've got to shout out
as well.
Lucy and Lizzie.
That's fair.
Always got to shout out those guys. Even if they do make some questionable choices with their beers, the Palmer Violet beer
was tasty.
I think that sounds nice. I haven't had it.
You didn't like it, I did.
No, but their Doppelbock and their Black IPA.
Oh God, they were so
and
good.
5% IPA.
They're another brewery that we've seen loads of this year.
We have, yeah. But yeah, that's an example of a beer that I didn't like, but it was still very well made.
Right, it was still a well-made beer. It just wasn't
And yes,
to your
so they're
taste.
finally opening their brewery up, and I love what those guys are doing and what they stand for, and I really wish them nothing but the best luck. But judging by the beers they've been able to put out on a 150-litre pilot kit, I think they're going to be okay there, guys.
Lucy was showing me pictures of the tanks that they'd finally got in, and when I was up in Glasgow the other week, like, they're very proud.
Well, this is when Lucy was going, yeah, so the tanks arrive on Friday, so we're going to do our first brew on Tuesday, and I'm going, that's not going to happen, Lucy.
It's not happening.
Not going to happen. And she's going, oh no, I think we're going to... It's like, no, it's... No. No matter how you cut it, that is not going to happen.
Don't kill that ambition. Just let it ride. Right, before I ask the question, I'm going to open up my second one, which is my mash gang Unlucky Charms cereal milk pale ale. So it's my 0.5%er, because I've been holding on to the low no ones that I've got, and now I have a real excuse for why I'm going to drink it.
So I love non-alcoholic beer at the moment. I think the quality of it is kind of the biggest development in craft beer probably in the past, since the pandemic. Certainly, like me and my boss were up at the Scottish National Beer Awards, and it was mainly non-alcoholic, which I couldn't quite work out. And then I was talking to a couple of Scottish guys, and it's because of their drink driving laws that you can't even have a half.
Oh wow!
And drive.
Yeah, you've got to be 0%.
Oh, you've got to be 0 on it. And then I'm trying the Williams Brothers Joker AF, and it was superb. The jump shit was amazing. And it kind of like, I've always enjoyed a non-alcoholic beer, like Yerdinger Blue and things like that. But I'm now actively going out of my way to try it. And I tell you what, it's incredible. And quite a lot of places, my drinking have it on tap now as well, especially with Red Willow alcohol free, so I can just sit there, because I love the pub. I love being there with my friends and things, but sometimes I'm not getting any younger. I'm only 16, but it's just been a very, very hard life.
Lots of festivals.
It's festivals, yeah. I wanted a non-alcoholic beer, and yes, you can have a Coke, but when I have a Coke, it's like, oh, I'm not drinking, boys. I'm not drinking, by the way, I'm not drinking. That's how it always feels. Whereas if I have a non-alcoholic beer, I'm just sat there having a nice time and having a really bloody tasty beer.
Yeah.
Nowadays as well.
I mean, I will say this does taste like what you'd expect, melted, like when you've got like cereal milk that has got like the melted marshmallows in it. Like, it literally, I could smell it from, I sort of like poured it, and even with a stuffy nose, I could quite heavily smell fruity notes to it. And then tasting it, it's like, it tastes like marshmallows once they've sort of started to disintegrate into the milk, but not in a milky way, just those marshmallow fruity flavors. And it's pretty drinkable. I mean, it does what it says exactly on the tin, but it still has that beer quality to it. It has that like pale ale beer quality. So it doesn't taste like it's watered down. It doesn't taste like wort. It doesn't taste like, it still tastes like a beer, a fruity beer. I'm sure there'd be people that would be like, why can't beer just taste like beer? That doesn't taste like beer. But it does. Like, it doesn't have those qualities that you sometimes get with non-alcoholic stuff, which makes it hard to drink.
The number of times that I find myself saying, why can't beer taste like beer? And then someone goes, what are you drinking right now? And I go, well, actually, it's a raspberry lactose vanilla pastry sour. And it's like...
It's when we had the was it the blue beer or the green beer? And you were just like, Sheffield, why can't? And you were like, why can't beer taste like beer? And I'm like, you're the one that just went and got the brightly coloured beer, dude. Oh, tell us the story about when Pete Brown broke your heart.
Oh, which time is this?
I love how you're like, there's quite a few. You're like, which
when we were at Indie Beer Feast, and he said that all of these adjuncts and stuff shouldn't be in beer, and you like had a physical reaction to it.
So Pete Brown, I don't get like starstruck about many people, but Pete Brown.
He does about Pete Brown.
He's one of the reasons I got into beer. I can remember like back when I was working in pubs, buying 4 sheets for a wind, and like which is about the development of the IPA, and reading it, and I bought. It talks about what's it called? Worthington Whitbread White Shield, and I went to Tesco's and bought it, and I'm sat there drinking it and reading it, and it really made me think. So my background before I got into brewing, I was a bioinorganic analytical chemist. So I use a little bit of it, but not nearly as much as what my parents seem to think I do.
You're like, I use it all the time, every day.
and I was reading these books, and it's like, this is what I want to do. And so first time I met Pete, it was at the Worshipful Guild of Brewers in the City of London. And he was presenting some things, and at the end, stood at the bar, and he goes like something like that. Oh, so what company are you here with? And I just go, I mean, I think I just walked off. And then the second time we were at Indie Beer Feast, and we sat there, and I dragged Joe to see him speak.
Yeah, he was like, he's doing. I was like, I was keeping time because you were going to miss it, and I'm like, quick. He's doing his talk, and he was like, and we ran over.
And he's there, and he's talking about like beers and like how we should go back to traditional breweries. Going, oh, don't really like any of these adjuncts. Like whoever would put fruit in a beer, and they're going.
And he was like, oh, he had a physical reaction. He was like, oh, that actually hurt me.
were you like, no, like have you kind of gone, I'm going to pretend he didn't say that, or have you also gone like, yeah, no, we should take fruit out of it? Like, have you?
Tori, I agree with him on enough things. He's allowed to have his faults.
No one's perfect, right? You can't.
We're allowed
you
to
can't
constructively disagree.
Yeah. Oh,
that is genuinely fabulous. Like the fact that you viscerally reacted. Oh no. Right.
But, if anyone wants any books to read, like Pete Brown's, like I think his ability to explain quite high concepts in a way of just drinking with someone down a pub I think it's really, really well written. Miracle Brew is fantastic, kind of about all the ingredients and things like that, because it takes some pretty heavy concepts and then just does it like your old mate describing it to you down the pub.
Yeah, and we recommend Craft Beer and Argument all the time.
It is like, I do think like that is, as an initial book to read, like when you're first starting to get into beer and then being like, oh, I'm, this is a hobby that I feel I could take over my life. Cool. What else can I buy that is not just beer related? That book is something that I think is also really, really cool, because it gives you a lot of things that when you start, down that path of it turning into, I just like to drink a beer, to like, okay, now I'm going to nerd out over stuff. You can kind of come in with in my opinion, you can kind of come in sometimes being like, yeah, no, it's an information overload where you think like you almost are kind of taking information on board and then kind of like parroting back some of the stuff that you're learning without actually kind of stopping and going, how do I feel about that? And what does that mean to me? And I think like Craft Beer and Argument is a really good way to sit down and read and then be like, okay, there is actually this argument that can be had, and you can see how both sides of the fence work and make sense. And I think it challenges you to think more critically than just like, oh, I was in an echo chamber of other people that are saying this thing, and therefore this thing might be the right thing. Therefore, that's what I'm going to parrot back to other people as well. Like that makes you stop and go, oh, well, actually, let me think a little bit more critically on that. I think it's just a fantastic book for somebody that's just getting into beer for that reason, because I think once you hit a certain point, you kind of go, yeah, I don't care anymore. Beer is beer. It's fun.
One of his books, which isn't actually about beer, Clubland, which is about kind of the working men's clubs in the north. I'm making it sound like I'm from like dirt poor. I'm really aggressively middle class. Like,
how many cravats do you have? I need to know.
I only have 20 ties. But it was still like, I'm from a small mining village in South Yorkshire, so those clubs, those working men's clubs, were still the lifeblood. And so there's one next village over that's just been taken over by the community that's been ran, and they've got some, a couple of Abbeydale beers in, a couple of like Blue Bee beers in, and it's now getting nice. And the guys who took it over, the two guys I went to school with, and they were just opening Friday and Saturday, and now they're opening Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now they're opening Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they're both kind of going, this was not This is getting out of hand.
Not the
here.
plan.
Like, this is not what we planned. We planned to have like a function room that we did little weddings in and things like that, not like a legitimate business route.
Yeah, I've got that on my to read list as well. Like it is on my I think it was free with Spotify Premium. It's an audiobook. So I had it saved on my audio. I can't remember if it was or if it was on my Audible, but basically like I saved it because I was like, I either want to buy the book or I want to listen to the audiobook of it, and I saved it because I just thought that sounds, I don't know a lot about, you know, as a person that's not from the UK, I don't really know a lot about working men's clubs. So I'm like, oh, for me it'd be quite interesting to just learn about
I think
what that
working
is.
men's clubs are pretty regional to like South and West Yorkshire, really, as well.
We have working men's clubs down here as well,
but not kind of the
probably
quantity.
Not. Yeah.
That we had. Like, I mean, it sat in a village of like it's probably 10, 15,000 people, and we used to have about 8.
Oh yeah.
So, and all but 2 of them have now gone.
Yeah.
But that's because it was surrounded by pits on 3 sides. So each one of those pits would have probably had 2 working men's out of it, and then you would have had the Con Club or the Labour Club on top of that. And that's just kind of how the thing was.
That is interesting. Yeah, no, I do. I want to read that book just because I want to learn more about it. I just thought it was an interesting sort of topic in general. I've got this piece of paper and I'm gonna.
Let's do the question.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Oh,
this one's just labelled as conversation starter. So this is just opinions.
Opinions.
I'm just gonna give you a prompt and then you can just tell me your opinion on it. No comment / no description beer photos that are posted to social media groups. Just a photo of like, here is a haul or here is a photo of a beer unopened. No comments, nothing. How do you opinions?
I mean, we all have our vices, don't we? And if you're doing that for a little bit of hype and things, and if you're doing that with a can of Trillium, well, you're a wanker, but I can understand why you're doing it. If you're doing it with like a bottle of something from your local,
right,
it's a different matter. I won't mention any of the Facebook groups that I enjoy very much of seeing the dumpster fire, but the one that's about real ale pubs in Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. I was going to say you part of that one. I'm not in that one. I just see the content.
It's just great. It's just people there going like pint, no location, no comment, no nothing. It's like great.
Like, what is it?
Right,
Where is it?
Another brown beer.
Is it a good
Brilliant.
pub? Is it a bad pub? Are you drinking a nice pint of bitter? Like, come on. And I've certainly do it on my stories and things like that. Of like, oh, I'm just in this town. Here's a nice picture of beer. But at least I'm saying where I am.
Yeah.
or what I'm drinking. Like,
yeah, there's got to be something because, like, if somebody sees it and goes, "That looks nice," like, I'd like to try that. Like, what beer is it? Where can they get it? Like, just share a little bit of the love.
I think sometimes it might be people as well that have had like a few drinks and they're just like, I want to put something out there. I want to contribute, so I'm going to just contribute.
So,
real ale pubs in Yorkshire, they are quite often quite blurry. And it just makes it.
It's taken on a potato.
It's just wholesome. To be honest with you, it just makes me happy. Get away from all these haze boys and things like that. No, I want to see a badly focused pints of Ruddles County.
Show me your blurriest, brownest ale, please. With no context of where it is. I just want it. Could be anywhere.
I love a pint of warm brown, though.
He really does.
I think a pint of warm brown.
I don't know, it just sounds the least appealing out of anything. Like the fact that you
sometimes
put
it's
warm
really
in front
tasty
of it.
brown though.
Yeah, but when you like warm brown.
One of our ex-colleagues, Alex, who's we were over. It was our Christmas party, and we did it down in Kent. And I got him a pint of warm brown bitter, and we're walking, and he goes, "Is it meant to?"
He's German, by the way.
And it's like, oh no, mate, it's cask conditioned, so it's naturally sparkled. So he goes, oh, is it meant to be warm? And it's like, it's cellar temperature, so it's like, what, 9 to 15 degrees? He goes, and you drink this on purpose? And it was like, cheers, Alex, mate.
That's so savage. To be fair, though, no, I do get that from people. You know what? Like, I think the thing that winds me up the most, though, is people that haven't either been to the UK before, or they went to the UK like once, however long ago. And it's people from the US that I know in the US, and they'll be like, "I don't understand how you drink beer over there because it's all warm." And I was like, "It's not warm." Like, I'm like, "It's not."
Temperature.
Yeah.
But I'm also
looked after.
But I just think that they also think like everything is like cask temp, like everything is cask temperature, and it's like, well, it's not. And number one, no, it's not warm. It's just warmer than what you are used to, because you also, I can say this as an American, because you also put your glasses in the freezer so that you can make sure that your mugs are as frosty as possible.
That's
so
horrible.
like, I'm guilty of having done that. Like,
yeah, no, I hate it.
I've had many a frosty mugs, so it's like, you know, you can't be like, I'm trying to make sure you freeze all of the flavors out of it, and then be like, yeah, but it's just because it's not as cold as straight from the freezer.
Yeah.
So a bit different, but yeah, like we get that all the time of like, it's warm over there, isn't it? I'm like, well, no, it's not. You calling it warm brown though probably doesn't help. Mike,
that's why I haven't taken him over to the US. He's not allowed.
If you go to a like country pub in Northwest or in Cheshire, Red Willow Feckless will be on, which is a 3.8% cask bitter. I might be a bit strong, it might be around 4%, and it is just a perfect beer. It's not exciting, it's sweet, it's a little bit of honeycomb to it, a little bit of bitterness to it, but it tastes brown and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely perfect for what they do. And the funny thing is, because it's a Yorkshire style bitter, but brewed in Greater Manchester, whereas a Mancunian bitter is very pale, very, very bitter, like Boddington's or something like that. And then you just have this beautiful, sweet pint of warm brown, and it's just great.
Every time, I feel like I get told, oh, Joe tells me off for saying if something tastes like blue. You get, it's a warm brown, and we're all fine with brown as a descriptor.
Brown.
I'm northern, so I get away with quite a lot. That's the thing.
That's fair.
I just roll my eyes at him.
What is your favourite, your beer glass in your collection that is your favourite? What is your favourite and why?
Oh,
Quickfire. I thought I'd just quickfire hit you with that one before you had a chance to even.
I have a lovely Chimay glass that was brought to me by my ex-boss at Meantime. That's kind of the only glass that's gone through like all the house moves with us. I've also got like a North Riding glass, which is a brewery that means a lot to me. I mean, it's here, but and then also I've got an Emperor's glass as well, which are when I got this glass 5-6 years ago, that was a mark of quality if you could get hold of one of the Emperor's glasses. Yeah. But to drink my beer out of, I always drink it out of the handle because I just like it like that. So I've got my Time and Tide one here. I've got, a beautiful, like, I call them a waffle mug, but apparently that's quite a regional thing.
Dimple pint.
A waffle mug?
Yeah, a waffle mug. Because it's got crosses on it.
Because
like
it's waffles.
And it's a mug. So it's a waffle mug. Which is one of those sayings that I have that sometimes I thought was, maybe it's Northern, or maybe it's Yorkshire, or maybe it's Sheffield, or maybe it's from the 5-mile radius that I'm from.
Well, I was going to say, does anyone else around you use that term, or do you just tell other people and they go, yes?
If you do ask for a waffle mug, they'll go, oh yeah, no worries.
So will they just do that to be polite, or are they just like, I know exactly what you're asking for? Normal people ask for this.
Yorkshire Tory, the people aren't very polite here. We're very friendly.
That's true.
We're not particularly polite.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, so
you've been to Sheffield?
Yeah, lots of times. No, my father-in-law's in Whitby. My husband's literally going up to York next week.
Yeah, but Whitby's very nice and very posh.
Well, people are. I feel like every time we go to Yorkshire in general, everyone's like really friendly and like so much friendlier and nice than down south.
Oh yeah, we are friendlier. We're a lot tighter, but we are friendlier.
I won't disagree. Knowing my father-in-law, I will not disagree with that. Yep.
That was my boss, Joe will back me up, who literally turned to me and said, "You need to spend more on expenses." Because I just wasn't.
Yeah, we were trying to force him to like spend money.
Yeah.
Then he spends my budget, and that's not what it's for.
And they're like, "Just kidding. Do not do that."
And I'm like, no, not
Spend
my
less.
money. Yeah.
So basically, what I need to say is I need to tell my husband when he goes up to York next week that he needs to go into some place and just dead ass look them in the eye and go, yeah, sorry, can I get a pint of that? Can I get it in a waffle mug, please?
Oh, not in North Yorkshire. You look mental, don't you?
So don't do that there.
Oh, no, do it in South Yorkshire. It's completely different. I think you probably do it in East Yorkshire as well.
You're like, there's a niche radius in which do it about a half mile from my home.
I've said this several times, but Yorkshire is, it's the greatest place in the world. But because it is so distinctive, like cultural pockets, you can actually probably tell someone's postcode by their accent and things like that. Like it is. So I'm 15 miles away from Barnsley, which sounds completely different to someone who's 15 miles further north, which would be Leeds. And if you go out west, you'll be in like the Calder Valley, which is an odd like Lancastrian Yorkshire mix. And then you head over to North Yorkshire, and York's got a very like Edinburgh almost accent, very soft like twang. And when you head across to the coast, and that sounds more like Hull, which is of course the Hull. And then it's a great part of the world because it is so diverse. Like there's so many little pockets of different things all happening, and it is the best place in the world.
I would say York is one of my favourite places. So like York and Edinburgh, like probably, if people said you've got to move out of the south of England and you've got to go someplace else in the UK, I'd be like either York or Edinburgh. Like they're very.
I would point out there that York is the most southern city in the north, and most people will quite happily admit.
We'll be like, we'll go there. I pick that one. But I don't know. I just vibe with it in general. I like every time I go there, the food's really good. The beer's really good.
The beers are great. You get off the station, you've got the York Tap there, which is one of the original train station bars. Amazing, owned by Pivo Bar. Their Mittel lager is exceptional. Walk across a bridge, you've now lost some malting, sadly, but then you've got the three-legged mare. Down in the city's got Tank Pilsner Raquel, which I love. You got the Eagle and Child, which is a Cameron's pub, so decent beer. Across where you got the Fat Badger, which is Timmy's, not owned by Timmy's, but very tired. You come down there, you got the first of the trembles, the proper trembling madness, not the
wobbly one, the wobbly madness,
not the worst sequel. Come round, you got the Duke of York, Shambles Tavern, Valhalla, Epiphany, Last Drop In, and then you're over and you've got like Fosgate Tap, the Hot, and this is all within like 150, 200 metres, and it's like that's mental. And all of those pubs are specialised in something.
It's really difficult because my husband was like, "Oh, do you want to?" He was going up to go visit his dad, and he was like, "If you stay home with the dog, that's all right." And then he's like, "Unless you want to come with me, I'm staying in York." And I was like, "I do." And then I was like, "But also, it's easier to stay at home with the dog than it is to take her up there because it's very dog friendly, but especially at this time of year."
It is just horrendous.
Trying to walk around with her, she's not very big, so I'm like, she'll get trampled, and I just can't deal with it. So I was like, no. But I do have we've got a collection of 3 ghosts from the Ghost Merchants, so it's one for each of us.
You managed to get into the queue.
No. So yes, there's one time I waited in the queue because I didn't know about the other location.
I've one round the corner, around the back.
So I stood in a 2-hour queue once, and
that's spicy.
And got just one ghost, and I got some for my my niece. I got one for my niece back in the US as well because I was like, she'll love this. So got myself one, got my niece one. 2-hour queue in the freezing cold, and my husband was a trooper and he stayed with me the whole time, and like he was like, We'll do this together. It's fine.
You got the Shambles Tavern about 20 metres up the road as well, which is a
Yeah.
really nice little pub. Only does Yorkshire beers, and it's really, really nice. And yeah, I would have.
He stayed with me.
Sack that off. Yeah.
He stayed with me the whole time, and I was like, "This is great." And it wasn't until we were looking at it the second, like another trip, we were looking and we were like, "Oh my god!" We thought we'd get up early and we'd see how big the queue was, and they were like, "Yeah, no, here's a flyer."
Down the Shambles, which during Christmas time, I think I punched people in the face and just didn't care. Like I need to get from one side of the Shambles to the other.
You have to.
I'm just going.
You have to. It's like a mosh pit. You just gotta just keep going. Yeah, it was only because the lady went, "Here's a flyer. There's the other location. You don't have to stay here." One person in front of me in the queue, and I was like, "This is where I'm coming every time now. Like, I'm not going to that location ever again." I've had people ask, and I'm like, "It's a need to know basis, and you don't need to know. It's a secret." I was like, "You either find it for yourself or you don't find it." So you got to get them to give you a pamphlet. They just know. They know of your quality.
All right.
Know of your quality.
We've kept you a little while. So let's wrap up with what has been your favourite event, your favourite beer event?
Or is this maybe slightly weighted by you, Joe? Here?
No, I would like your honest opinion.
Yeah, what's events that people shouldn't miss? Because they're your fave.
I mean, Leeds International every year is one that I always rave about, and I've always thought that was the best beer festival in the north. Like, the selection of beers, the breweries, the vibe has been fantastic. Out of the smaller beer festivals, you've got Chester Craft Beer, which is lovely. Nottingham Craft this year. First time I went down, I had an absolute stupendous time down there. What else? Oh, Gravity as well is fantastic. Up in Edinburgh, ran by Barney's. Selection of beers for next year is coming out, and they're going hard. They're going big, and they're going to go fun. And if you have a chance to get up to Edinburgh, any excuse, I think that's going to be perfect. But yeah, if you're going to do one, it's going to have to be Little Earth, isn't it?
Oh god, it was so good.
All right, guys. Well, is this like paid for advertisement? Like, are you just have you got them to show for you? Because you're like,
no, because we had a good time. I saw Danny at the Time and Tide Festival, and she was like, Are you coming again in 2025?" And I was like, "I mean, you've just invited me, so I feel like I have to now."
Well, it's the fact that I was only going to come because we had our Christmas party the week before, because we have our Christmas party in July, which is actually a lot more fun than having it around Christmas.
Yeah.
And then Joe's going, "I've got an Airbnb. Do you want to come to Little Earth Fest?" And I'm going, "Absolutely right."
Yeah, because I was like, "I'll go to Little Earth Fest." You're like, "Oh, I've always wanted to go." I'm like, "Well, you're here. What are you doing at the weekend? Nothing. I'll come pick you up. We'll drive up. You can share my Airbnb. You don't mind sleeping on the sofa, do you? Right, off we go." And we had a great time.
We had an amazing time. And the selection of beers, the vibe, the place, it was just incredible.
And shout out to the minibus driver. I said to Danny, I was like, "Your bus driver was amazing." She was like, "Yeah, we've got him booked in for next year." She's like, "He'll literally drive anybody anywhere." So like, you buy a shuttle ticket, and you're supposed to go to the train station, and they pick you up from there. And literally, we turned up, and he called us out by name, and he was like, "You must be Joanne. Are you ready? Are you coming on the bus?" And we were like, "Yeah." He's like, "Jump in. I don't think I've got anybody else. We've got to pick someone up from the pub." I told him I'll pick him up from there. So we drive around to the pub, and we pick up.
I'm sat there going, "I think that's my mate Cal, who's the lead brewer at Rivington." And I'm there going, "Oh, what a weird thing for him to be." And the text driver goes, "Cal, stop." Yeah, he's one who's getting.
Yeah, we're picking him up. So we picked up Cal from Rivington, went round, and we were having a day. And then Danny's like, "Some people want to go earlier. What time's your bus ticket? Do you mind
hanging around with Cal?
And do you mind waiting a little bit longer?" We were like, "No, it's fine." And then the guy's like, "Jump in. Where are you staying? I'll just drop you off right at your doors." And he did. He just dropped us off at where we were staying. It was great.
I mean, that guy sounds like the real MVP.
He was amazing.
Well, there you go.
It was incredible festival.
You got me.
That and Fine Fest was
Fine
spectacular.
Fest was also amazing. Yeah, we had a good
But
time
it
there.
did nearly kill us.
It did, yeah.
We did all get heat
We
stroke
did.
and we're
But
in
the
bed
problem
at like
was,
7:30.
midges
we
as well.
we found ourselves
No,
a
the midges weren't
table.
too bad.
No. We found ourselves a table, and it was a lovely day. And we just kept, one of us would stay at the table so we didn't lose it, and we'd all disappear off, and then we would just sat out in the sun all day, and we shouldn't have done that.
And people came to join us,
Yeah.
and they went away, and then we'd go get some
Just how
food,
caught.
but we'd go back to this table, and then we're sat at like the brewers
Yeah,
thing,
like the brewers.
and we're all sat there going, I don't feel very good.
Yeah, we were like, we
all.
don't want another beer, do we? No, we don't.
No,
Should we
it's
just
like,
go back to the...
I've had 13 pints and I haven't had a piss. I think this isn't good.
Yeah, we were like, let's go back to the tent and go. Like, well, that was about 8 o'clock at night, wasn't it? We're like, we're going to go to bed now.
I think it was 7:30. I think it was 7:30.
But that's the worst, like, if you're camping as well, because you kind of have to, because no matter what you want, you are waking up when the sun is up. It doesn't matter. Like, the second it's bright...
got back and just drank, like, 2 gallons of water.
And then just laid down. And then it was like we're going to bed now? Yeah. We're getting up in the morning and going home? Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Night. Done. So yeah, I would love to do Fine Fest again. It is quite far away.
Yes, and you have got
spectacular.
You do need transport out there, because it's not that easy to get to, and you've got to have your camping gear or a camper van or whatever. But it is a spectacular festival.
What is it? An hour and a half north of Glasgow, so it's not that bad, but it's. I don't say it very lightly, and it sounds like I'm exaggerating. It is life changing, like seeing that. And I drank so much warm brown that week as well.
Out of everything as well that you could be just warm brown.
All that I drank was warm brown, cider, or Dan's Mad Wild Fern
Origins
stuff,
yeah.
Which I didn't even get to choose.
No.
So Dan is a genius. He's ex pastore, mixed firm. Just incredible craftsmanship, the artisanship around the beers that he does. There's not really anyone else in the world I'd go with doing him. But you just show up every so often and go, here you go. He's not one for words.
No.
And you go, here you go. And you put it down and then just walk off. It's like,
thanks, Dan.
Oh, cheers,
He's
Dan.
another one we saw at loads of festivals this year.
He was just over it. For a man who hates people, he just kept getting wheeled out.
Well, I saw AD at Glasgow, and I was like, not got down with you today. I've seen Dan at everything. She was like, yeah, he's been really, really happy to go out to things, but he didn't want to this weekend, so we thought we'd let him stay at home. And I was like, fair.
So the origin stuff as well. He did 100% wheat mash on one of his beer. 100% wheat mash.
Madness.
And I went, that's insane. Was it any good? And you went, no. Like, oh, okay. That's the end of that sentence.
You got to appreciate the honesty.
He's got a very lovely basset hound as well.
Oh,
which is adorable, isn't it? It's only a couple of years old as well.
Still a puppy.
I could love a good bit of like puppy fur. Puppy fur is the best.
Very good, very dog friendly at Fine Fest. Very dog friendly.
Well, it is just outside.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is I was like, oh, if I could camper van it and take Phelan, that would be nice.
Yeah,
but the same thing with the Little Earth Project. But
yeah,
she's also impatient as shit. So it's not. She'd just want to be in the woods all day, every day, walking around. And I'd be like, can we sit for a bit? And she'd be like, no, thank you. We've got big things to do today.
Mother, follow me.
Yes. Actually, to be fair, it would be more like father. It's more like the help. Please take me out. Like she just treats my husband like he's the help. So she's like, this is not a matter to bother mother with. Let us go, father. We will frolic. Wow. I laughed so hard that I physically felt ill for a minute at one point, because that was I feel like that was great. Actually at numerous points, but especially at the start. It was painful. If anyone wants to follow you and see more of your opinions, where can people follow you? Please plug your stuff.
follow some more of my opinions. Please follow Bathhouse X for their wonderful hot things.
For hot
things. I am the Smoky Bacon on everything. Follow my Instagram to see me drink more pints of warm brown wherever I go.
Like this Instagram is sponsored by Warm Brown.
Yeah.
At the moment, this Instagram is sponsored by Red Willow's Feckless.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much for coming on. I'm glad that you got to come and share your opinions, and that we had the
final.
Oh,
can we agree Valhalla not a dive bar?
Okay, yes.
Can we just virtual handshake, Valhalla not a dive bar?
But I also think your classification of dive bar in this country needs changing.
No. I don't disagree with some of what you said. I don't disagree with some of what you said. No, that's not a dive bar. That's a shit chain restaurant. That's different.
Well, that's all that you're going to end up with.
All I'm saying is, I think I agree with some of the other places that you have suggested. Valhalla's just not that one, and that was the hill you guys chose to die on, and I feel like we can virtually handshake and say Valhalla not a dive bar.
And say it's done now.
let's bury that. Valhalla not a dive bar.
And there we have it. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, my work husband.
I wrote you that intro as well because I thought like I'm gonna do a placeholder one, and then you could just replace it with whatever you want because I'm too ill to care. And it made me laugh, and that was fine. Good. And then you joined, and you were like, "I read it, and I'm keeping it." He doesn't know. I don't think he doesn't realize that that's our intro.
But he did. Tom. We're a big thank you to Tom.
Yeah.
I literally messaged him this morning and went, "You free tonight? Do you want to do some recording?" Because we've been saying we should get him on for a while. And I was like, we need to record something tonight. And Tori's not feeling well. Will you come on and do all the talking? And he was like, "Yes, I have opinions."
Yeah, the message I got from Joe was just like, Tom's free tonight and he has opinions. And it was like and he has opinions in quotes. And I was like, what does that mean? And then she went, I have to go now. I'll respond later. And I went, but what does it mean? And then I got nothing but a crying, laughing react back like later in the day.
I did have to put some boundaries in place. He was warned in advance. He wasn't allowed to talk about Margaret Thatcher. He's a proud Yorkshireman. He wasn't allowed to talk about Margaret Thatcher. But otherwise, he did all right. That's the hardest I've laughed outside of just the two of us for like quite a long time. That really tickled me.
So the parts that made me laugh were like before we even were recording, I was nearly in tears, unable to breathe, and my stomach felt like I was going to be sick because I was laughing so hard.
I have a sneaky feeling that we might have him back at some point. I don't think that's the last we've had of Tom Bacon.
I just feel like you're like, tell the story about this, and then he was like, oh yeah, okay, like just casual. The thing with his dad, that genuinely killed me. The fact that his dad was like, I just don't think they agree with me.
He just came. I think we must have been at a work thing, and he's like, "Yep." So my dad drank like 8 dippers the other night. I was like, "What?"
Oh, that was fabulous. That was genuinely fabulous. Oh God, thoughts and prayers for Tom's dad, everyone.
Right, Tori, if people, I don't know, want to give you their thoughts on dive bars.
I mean, if they want to come to me and they want to be like, I'm sorry I doubted you, I'm sorry that was the hill that they chose to die on, like we should have believed you, believe what she said, like she said that wasn't a dive bar. We didn't have that trust. We thought it was 2 against 1. There's no way it could have been true. And then to get that, relief of I felt like,
do you feel vindicated?
I feel vindicated. I feel like he admitted that, like, yes, that probably wasn't the hill to die on for the dive bar argument. If you want to come and apologize to me about that, if you want to empathize with me, you want to talk about dive bars, you can come find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism, or you can email me at adventuresinoptimism@gmail.com. If you want to write to both of us and tell us how Tom made you laugh hysterically to the point that you felt ill and couldn't breathe and wanted to cough up a storm, you can message us both at a Women's Brew on Instagram or Facebook, or you can email us at a womensbrewpodcast@gmail.com. Joe, if people want to talk to you about what it's like to work with this person on a regular basis and hear all of his very interesting stories, where can people find you?
I mean, you can come and talk to me on Instagram at Love Beer Learning, but if you want to hear Tom's stories, you need to hear them from Tom because he tells them the best. I am of course taking applications for a new work husband. If you're up for that, let me know. You can come to my website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk, or you can email me with your application form. You've got to be at least as good as Tom, otherwise it's not going anywhere. And that is lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. Right, we're going to go to bed.
Cheers.